So what does MS4CECI stand for?
Okay, it stands for Municipal Septic Storm Sewer System Compliance and Enforcement Certified Inspector. And I came up with that acronym. There were a bunch of them that we discussed, but I finally landed on that one because the MS4 operator out there has got to comply with their permits, but they also have to enforce as a part of their job as an MS4. So you have to kind of teach them on both levels. I think where people really miss the program is not fully understanding their role as an enforcement officer as they're complying with these permit conditions. So they have certain things they've got to comply with in the stormwater management program as they're out there enforcing on construction sites or industrial facilities, or dealing with the public in a hotspot or a neighborhood that's has issues or whatever.
Hey there, welcome to the Stormwater World podcast. Shout out to our parent company, Digital Stormwater. We're out there making an impact in stormwater one click at a time. We put more stormwater people in front of your stormwater products and services. How we get there is totally up to you. Some of the services that we offer are social media management, Google, LinkedIn, and Meta ads, SEO and content creation, website builds and updates, AI automations, consulting, and a lot more. So the question is who do you know that needs our help? If you're on YouTube, you can click on that QR code to learn more, or you can give us a call at 844-451-2534, or you can visit us at digitalstormwater.com and schedule a call with us today. I'd like to thank everybody that's been listening to this podcast. We appreciate each and every one of you. Let's get back to the episode. Hey everybody, welcome back to a new episode of the Stormwater World podcast. I am excited to have a fan favorite back on the pod for another episode, but we have a mission today. So quick question for everybody. If I could package up over 30 years of in-field stormwater experience and package it into a way that you could have it and learn it and absorb it and use it for the betterment of your career and your stormwater program, would that be of interest to you? But hey, first we'll get to that. Just hang on to that thought. Let me introduce our guest, Luke Owen, the owner and founder of NPDES Training Institute. Luke develops and presents stormwater training and education programs that are designed to truly be effective for both the seasoned stormwater professional and the new stormwater inspector. He also serves as a volunteer and commissioned NPDES subject matter expert for certification and credentialed training programs, and provides expert witness legal services regarding NPDES general permit compliance. Luke, welcome back to the pod, sir.
That's good to be here. Thanks for having me on, Ty. I appreciate that.
All right. So we do definitely have a purpose today, but we're going to keep teasing that until the end, or I'm sure it's going to come out at any moment. But you have an extensive knowledge of the stormwater world, and so I just want to kick off and right away with some of our pre-show notes, and that is with effective education and training is the foundation for clean surface water. What did you mean by that when you sent me that in the notes?
Well, I think effective, what that really means is that you're digging down into more than just presenting data. You've got to really hit the motivation within all of us, that I really believe that we all want clean water, but yet how do we get it? For you to care about a program that you can't even remember the acronym of, called NPDES, NPDES, or however you want to pronounce it, for the common man out there, and even people that are getting into the stormwater inspection world, whether it's a compliance or enforcement perspective, when you're training these people, you've got to be able to connect with them and then inspire them along the way as you're training, and engaging them in conversation and showing different ways of training where, I don't care really I've taken a lot of courses, but if you do video, whiteboard, asking questions, I always try to motivate my classes about, hey, you guys, when I'm throwing questions out there to you, try to answer verbally, because then you remember. It's kind of like when somebody tells you their phone number and you don't repeat it, it's really hard to remember that. So anyway, I've taken a lot of courses on how to be a motivational speaker on something that it can really tend to be boring for many, many people. And I just so happen to be so passionate about this project or about this program that I think a lot of it catches on just because I care about it and I love the people that I train. I just think the people in this program are phenomenal Americans and people that are grateful to be here and that want to do what they can to clean up the water. So on all sides of that, just trying to motivate and educate at the same time.
I when I first met you, or even after knowing you for a while, I felt like you were in my mind, right? You were the Georgia guy, right? You were when it came to Georgia stormwater, I'd be like, oh, you need to talk to Luke. you know, and getting to know you better over the last year or so, I find that that's not actually completely accurate. Like you're over here in Indiana doing stuff, you're in Nevada doing stuff, you're all over the place doing stuff. So would you feel like it's okay that people know you as Georgia, but yes, true, in fact, you are more of a national presence at this point?
No, I absolutely believe that. Most of my career, although I'm getting up into 20 years here in Georgia, but certainly about half of my career was in the West, and it just so happens that states like California, Nevada, Colorado, Utah, and not so much Utah, but certainly, Arizona, Nevada, California really enforce these laws. And so I kind of grew up in the NPDES program before stormwater even came along. And then when these new permits came out for stormwater, I didn't know what I was doing. I was learning. I was just a junior geologist trying to figure this stuff out. But I worked for consulting firms. And so we were getting a lot of projects to do property condition assessments that were basically, stormwater inspections. They didn't even know what to call them back then. And so I got into that early on. And, you don't get that much rain in the West, but the rules and regulations were very similar to what federal statutes were. So I learned and cut my teeth right there in the very beginning with how things were, how people were learning in the West. Well, when I moved here 20 years ago, man, I had no idea the impacts of stormwater and the devastating impact that stormwater's had on Georgia and the Southeast in general. We've lost our topsoils here, and we've lost them now for over 150, 200 years, and from storms where so many other parts of the country, like up in Indiana, other places still have their topsoils. We've washed off. And so the laws here were very, very aggressive. They passed the first state law, one of the first in the country back in 1975 for erosion and sediment control. So they were right on the cutting edge of dealing with stormwater on construction sites. But when NPDES came along and it was required in 2000 for them to comply also not with just the state law local permits, but with NPDES permits, then I was like, man, I was just, it was my world. I understood it. And understanding the whole concept behind you've got to look at a construction site now as a treatment system rather than just a construction site with some BMPs that you slap on it. And it's more about water quality. And so I really cut my teeth in the West, understand the challenges, the issues that go on with permits there. Even though I do think the EPA regions are very sympathetic towards the challenges they have with stormwater when you only get like 4 inches of rain a year or 9 inches of rain a year or whatever. They do adjust their permits back there, but here, man, we're all over it. And so even in Georgia, there's just a few states in the country that require water sampling we're talking about discharge limits, numeric discharge limits for construction sites. Well, now, California's come along and done some stuff there and some other states briefly, but boy, we've been on top of it for 20 years. So anyway, I've loved living in this state because I really do see and have seen the impacts of stormwater in a very real way on our economy here.
So
So yeah.
you've taken all that experience over the country, and then over these years, and you turned it into what is now the NPDES Training Institute, which trains others, right? And so, and for the most part, it's been known as an in-person training environment, right? So, can you explain how your class structure and the in-person training works? Like, like
Sure.
yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Georgia, when the NPDES permit came out in 2000, they were already operating under these old permits, local permits. And so, if you can imagine, when you're doing something the same way, like if you're driving the speed limit the same way for 20 years, then all of a sudden they lower the speed limit, it's really hard to not go the way you've always gone. And that's happened to me actually, where I've gotten a ticket. Well, what was happening here in Georgia was very similar to that, where people were operating under local permits that were reinforced by the Georgia Environmental Protection Division, the state agency. But when NPDES came along, that was when Walmart and Home Depot and these guys, these big corporations, even John Whelan Homes here and a lot of other kind of homegrown builders here in Georgia were getting hammered by these massive fines, and they had no idea what was going on. So Georgia's response to that was to develop a certification program that got everybody on the same page. So they passed a state law that required certification. And I just so happened to have just freshly, moved here at the time that I decided to go ahead and start this company. So then I was dealing with early on a population of people. We're talking about people that are superintendents on construction sites, having to be certified with a one-day class, sitting on their butt, listening to somebody, and then pass a 50-question test. And it really challenged me to really, again, kind of what I'm, make my courses effective. And so I challenged myself to really learn how to motivate people, how to inspire people in a program where the government's forcing them to come in and take it, and then to get recertified. They didn't want to come in and take a stormwater course, and they still really don't. But they're, I tell you what, now when they come into our courses, boy, they are really, they leave there, and it's just really satisfying to hear all the comments. It's like, wow, I really appreciate this. I really love how you incorporated stormwater or fishing and hunting into this and taking care of our natural resources, because we tend to take those for granted. So I really try to hit that, whether or not people like to fish, people certainly respect the fact that we can. And I really hit that hard because I'm a fisherman. I mean, I love to fish. And now that I've got a lake, I've got a 5-acre lake out there, and I'm seeing some dissolved oxygen challenges, and I'm addressing those, and algae bloom issues and all those types of things have become very real for me. And I really share that in my courses, and people love it. So as a result of that, so that's kind of what challenged me to kind of dig deeper into being more effective, as a trainer.
I think that's great. I think a lot of instructors should probably take a public speaking class. I think that matters. I go to, we go to a lot of conferences, and there's some really technically sound people out there, but man, if they put you to sleep, it's just over, right? Like they just go over the data and just, just boring you to death. But I think something else that you have going for you is the fact that you are an outdoorsman. You're an outdoorsman, and you've been out in the field. You're not somebody that learned it from a book and is turning around and teaching everybody else what they learned from a book. If that makes sense to everybody, right?
That's
Like
true. I mean, even in California,
you've lived, yeah, you lived it. You're doing it. You're a field guy and a trainer and a public speaker, and you're wrapping all that up into these live trainings. But how many trainings is it even possible to do in the course of a year? When it's
oh gosh,
when it's you traveling around the country, fighting the good fight, the stormwater fight. But I mean, how many can you really do? 12,
well, I'm going to
24?
put a plug in right now. I'm looking for another
Uh-oh.
trainer, and I've got a couple of
Oh, he
people on
needs
the
help.
hook.
Yeah, there you
But
go.
I'm very picky, and I'm
Yeah.
picky in the sense that I want people that, first of all, care about the people they're training. Because if you don't care about that individual, then you're not going to inspire them, you're not going to motivate them, you're not going to help them, to appreciate this program. So I really look for that kind of a person that really does want to be a good speaker, and then from that point, then that they're knowledgeable, that they understand the program. And I do a lot of training of my trainers when they come on board. I have a small staff right now. I've had some people leave because they had to help their other companies. We use part-time trainers, but anyway, so yeah, it's to bring people on. I guess to keep on plugging my company, or at least what I'm looking at for trainers, is that, we need people that care about this program, the people that are in it. Then, of course, our watersheds. It gives the quality of life that we have.
Yeah, so then it becomes so to lean into that a little bit, it almost becomes like, and I might be messing this up, but I really feel like so Lenny Kravitz, I want to say he did all the instruments on his on some of on all or some of his records, or and so he would play each instrument. So in order to
Mm,
go on the road with
I
Lenny
see.
Kravitz, you had to be willing to learn how to play like him. Right, and so I feel
Yeah.
like that's what you're like, "Hey, you can be on my team, but you gotta do it like I wanna do it," right? And
Yeah.
so
And
there's
yeah.
it yeah, and there's and then there's always been, like, I don't I'll have to figure out we'll link the, Luke's previous episode in the show notes, but, everybody knows that you have an extreme passion about not only, water and clean water, but of this country, right? And I appreciate that from you, but there's a limitation of what you can do as one man traveling the road fighting this stormwater fight. So that just leads us right into the evolution of what I was saying to the beginning of this episode. What if we could what if we could wrap you up, Luke? What if we could wrap up your knowledge and deliver it to the masses without you having to get in, grab your suitcase and try to get to every single stormwater professional in the country? And that's effectively what you've done with your new online program, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And I kind of cut my teeth on the recertification program that Georgia does have. I mean, to be certified in this state, whether you're a design professional or an enforcement person or a compliance person that's a superintendent, you've got to get trained, and it's classroom only. But the recertification does allow online. And so I fought against it in the very beginning. I mean, I actively fought against it. I thought, you cannot be as effective online as you can be, in person. And I still believe that. I mean, you do the best you can, but I tell you, it when I saw when they opened the door up for online, and I fought against it, and I thought, I'm just going to have to bite this off, and I learned how to, how I incorporated the online training into our website and stuff like that. So the first ones were really kind of hit and miss. I mean, they were pretty tough, but I've learned along the way how to look you in the eye, how to discuss things conversationally, and then plug in those videos and even put in the whiteboard and explain things, and just kind of going from questions that I've received in the classroom that are common. I address those things online. So I know that a lot of the stuff that people are asking themselves, I know a lot of that stuff just from the experience of training the MS4 program now for over 10 years, and the other, certification programs for erosion and sediment control. So, yeah.
Yeah, so the new course is the MS4CECI course.
Yeah, it's
It,
that online national course. And again,
okay.
it was like, man, I am traveling like crazy. And honestly, it's wearing me out to do that, to be, as much as I love it, it's really
Right,
tough to
right.
continue doing that. So you have to,
But hey, recorded Luke is fresh and happy, and he's hasn't been traveling, and so you don't know if he's on day. He's ready to go. You just turn him on the computer, versus you catch grumpy Luke on the end of a 3 day,
that won't
4 week
happen.
minute. You better answer questions in that classroom. I don't want to be on the I don't want to have to take a class from grumpy Luke. So that's pretty cool. So you've been able, not only were you able to wrap up a lot of this information and create this new course, it's not your first online, it's not your first foray, if you will, into the online training world, and then you're taking all of those skill sets and just putting them into video for those that want to be able to take it at the in the comfort of their office, right? So I've got some questions. Let's start off. Let's go to the basics. So what does MS4CECI stand for?
Okay, it stands for Municipal Septic Storm Sewer System Compliance and Enforcement Certified Inspector. And I came up with that acronym. There were a bunch of them that we discussed, but I finally landed on that one because the MS4 operator out there has got to comply with their permits, but they also have to enforce as a part of their job as an MS4. So you have to kind of teach them on both levels. I think where people really miss the whole um, the program is not fully understanding their role as an enforcement officer as they're complying with these permit conditions. So they have certain things they've got to comply with in the stormwater management program as they're out there enforcing on construction sites or industrial facilities, or dealing with the public in a hotspot or a neighborhood that's has issues or whatever. So yeah, that's where I got it from.
So then this is so then who so now then the next question would be who is it for? Because is it directed it's directed right at the cities then, right? And then you want to expound on that and who
Sure.
it
Yeah, it's directed for DOTs. I'm going to be training the Nevada Department of Transportation next month. I've trained a lot of people here in Georgia, the people here for the GDOT, and other states will send people in every now and then. But so it's not just the cities and counties, but it is military bases. Train a lot of people that are MS4 operators in military bases, and certainly the counties and the cities that qualify. So the and consultants, a lot of cities and counties are outsourcing now. So there's a lot of private consultants that are out there working. I've got some good friends that actually work for cities and counties as stormwater directors and managers and inspectors. So a lot of consultants, it's for them as well.
and so is it was it a year long certification? Is it a 2 year, a 1 year? How long does it last for?
That's a really good question. To come up with, when does a person really need to be recertified? Because to be honest with you, a lot of times people when they first come in, they're getting hit with so much information. There's a lot of that stuff that they forget. So when they get recertified, I want to make sure that we're landing on some of those important issues that they may not have even had to address. Because a lot of people that come in for these trainings are maybe 20% of their job or even less is doing MS4 stormwater inspections, and so I try to hit that stuff. Forgot exactly where I was going with that. Um, but the so I want to make sure they're getting educated on that level. However, the 3 years is kind of intentional in that most
3 years.
permits, if not all here in the country, are 5-year permits. So when you land on every 3 years, then you're going to be getting into a new permit cycle and addressing federal statutes that have changed, like skimmers, for example, became a federal statute that most states in this country actually have to implement now. And so you're getting them with new information as well as revisiting stuff that they really need to just remember as an MS4 inspector.
I gotcha. And so we know who and we know well let's circle back and because we touched on it, right? We were touching on it in the beginning and kind of the 30,000 foot view, but why do I need this? Let's just really hammer that down. And why do I need this? And then if you'll also, kind of touch on anybody that thinks like, well, can I do it in my state? I mean, is this open to any state? Do I need to have anything special? Is it, you know,
That is a
what are the
really, really,
what is
really
it?
good question.
Yeah,
You had several questions in there. So,
yeah.
uh, what I found, and I'm talking seasoned inspectors. One thing about it, I can say when I first started this training company, I really didn't fully understand the legal aspects of permit compliance. And at the end of the day, if somebody does not install or maintain a sediment pond or a silt fence or on an industrial facility, if they don't have their spill kits available and those things that go on with their permit, then those are things that they'll get hammered for it and have to pay a lot of money for not complying with. So in the beginning, I really just focused on doing BMP inspections, is what I always did. I was not really concerned with, although the inspection requirements, um, you know, I fill out the inspection forms that particular state's permit requires, but I didn't really understand the permit. So the bottom line is that now our trainings, the trainings that we have, focus on first understanding the permits that people have to comply with. And they're different all over the country. I mean, they just are. So, but the procedure does not change. So it does, and I challenge the people that take the course, they need to go back and do some homework. They've got to go back and understand their permits, the things that they're enforcing, especially in Part 4, which is pretty much uniformly applied across the country for construction general permits, what the site inspection requirements are. And then hold the people they're enforcing on. When I say enforcing, they're stepping on site and doing an inspection. The first thing they're going to do is a documentation inspection first. So did they have daily rainfall requirements? In the West, did they do their daily rainfall or every week, whatever their permit conditions are, in accordance with maybe back there, the local airport that has rainfall, where here in Georgia, you have to have a rain gauge assigned on site, whether it's an online NOAA type of Doppler radar type of thing, or it's an actual rain gauge. The inspection requirements and what the permit says for how to actually do those inspections, and the order and the things that need to be looked at, whether it's a daily, a weekly, or a monthly. And then you verify that those inspection reports and those forms are in place. And then you do the field inspection to verify that, hey, they weren't just filling things out, making sure that, their client, if they're doing the inspections for their superintendent, that they're doing something more than just writing them down as deficiencies, that they're actually fixing them in the field. And when I decided to get involved in this expert world of expert witness testimony type services, it's been a little bit since I've been invited to be one, but I tell you, I don't think I'll do them anymore. I really wanted to do it just to learn more
Right.
about how that process works. And I'm kind of disenchanted with a little bit about how the legal community actually works through some of these issues. It makes it more confusing, I think, for people that are trying to comply with the permit. But all that being said, I wanted to learn that so I could share that in my classes, more from just, well, it's a good thing to know what your permits say, that, hey, these guys over here that just allowed all this sediment to discharge in this guy's lake downstream did not put in their perimeter controls the way the permit required, and therefore they're going to end up paying $2.8 million as a result of that. And then questions come out, well, how do you put in perimeter controls when you get your timber harvesting permit and you're trying to, a superintendent's out there trying to come in under budget and within schedule, and he's not being paid as a stormwater treatment system operator. He's being trained to build that job up. And so they're really moving ahead of what the permit requires. A lot of times that's really, really where people get in trouble. This particular company, I'll just say real quickly, they got in trouble because of that very thing I mentioned. They got their timber harvest permit. They took down all the trees, started grubbing and grading before they were putting in their perimeter control, before they actually put in their perimeter controls.
Wow.
And in Georgia,
Nice.
that's a huge, huge deal. So it just so happened they always did that. As a matter of fact, I'm kind of sad to say they knew better because I trained them, and they've taken our recertification courses. They're good guys, good people. And that's where the reality of, their company did not support them putting in perimeter controls first before they actually took down the trees. They said, you got your timber harvest permit, you better get after it. And they did. And it just so happened they got about 23 inches in 3 weeks. And and hard-hitting thunderstorm rains that just poured mud off into this creek that took it down to the guy that ended up suing him. So anyway, that's the importance of the perspective I think I've got is that when you take this MS4 class, I've got the experience of working as a consultant for MS4s, with MS4s, and in all the different aspects of the industrial permits, hotspot inspections, construction site inspections, understanding the legal implications of that, and then the practical side of things of well then, who can actually keep all that sediment on site when you get a 6.7 inch rain event, which is what the state of Georgia says you have to keep all that sediment on site or at least meet a discharge limit. It's very clear that it's an impossible task to do that. So now we have to understand the importance of demonstrating your intent to comply with the permit. And that even Georgia is very sympathetic towards people that do try to comply with their permits, and the legal community is too. So, in all of that stuff, I try to make it practical for people, but help them understand the importance of legal compliance, and then trying their best to maintain, install, and maintain those BMPs in the field to verify and justify their permit conditions.
I got a question that we hadn't discussed, and I hate to put you on the spot, but I mean, it's something I was just thinking, man, if I took this course, I wonder if I could just have access to Luke afterwards. Do you interact with your students after
You
they take
know,
a
I'm, I'm
course? I mean, are you accessible? I
I
hate to
am
put you on the
very
spot. I
accessible.
figured you would be. I was hoping you'd be like,
Oh
you
yeah,
wouldn't just look at me like you wanted to kill me right now, but like, yeah, you would talk to people, right? After they,
absolutely.
yeah.
And I tell people in my classes, every one of them, if I don't call you back like within a day or two, you hound me until I do, because I do want to help you. And the sad thing, I mean, I've trained, I mean, I can't even tell you. I don't even want to say it's
Tell me a number.
thousands and
Throw a
thousands of
number.
people,
Throw it out. It's got to be tens of
but you don't
thousands.
have,
Tens of
you just don't
thousands.
have that many people that call and for a question. The only time you really get it is when it recently rained and they've got somebody complaining, and now they're like, oh well, what do I do? Or you might have an MS4 inspector that's trying to figure out how to deal with this angry person out there that's doing work when they shouldn't and stuff like that. um, in the construction world, I get so many phone calls about the stormwater volume challenges that people have, the damage that is caused from maybe somebody like a supermarket upstream that just was built. And now they took down all these trees up there. And now when it rains, all that water's coming down on their property in their neighborhood, and they want to sue them. And I'm telling them there's certain things you've got to do before you go after that. And a lot of times they just don't have any legal recourse to go after them for something like that. So sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So
Right.
but I do invite those questions. I just don't get that many of them. But I
Well, there
again,
you go, man.
emails,
There you go.
texts, phone
Yeah.
calls.
I mean, I think that's an invaluable intangible that people probably don't take advantage of that they should, right? And not that Luke will give you his cell phone. He may, I don't know, but he's a texter. So all you demographics out there that say I'm not calling the guy. I mean, he'll text. He'll text with you. Sometimes when you don't,
Absolutely.
like I'm like, Luke, send me an email. He's texting away. So, but yeah, he's a texter. So we're covering all the demographics. So on the course, like how long is this course, right? How long is it to take
You know, when I
the new MS4CECI course? How long is it?
Yeah, that was when we first put this together. I was like, how can I break this up into small chunks? And I thought, because our people on our team said, Luke, you can't have this be like a 15-hour course. This has got to be something that's going to be bite sized, where they're going to be able to take it and not be overwhelmed with it. But then I thought, it is online is bite sized. I mean, they can get in the middle of a module and
Stop,
then
start,
quit
stop,
and then
start.
come back,
Yep, yep,
to it. So
absolutely.
it makes it feasible for them to have a pretty lengthy module and just cut along the way. And so we have beta testers out there right now that have done that, and it's worked out really well. And so the course itself is 9 hours, and we have 6 modules in there. One particular module is 2 hours. The point source and on-point source, and then the facility inspections. Those are the longest ones. And but I'm really happy to say that people love them. And I'm excited about that.
Yeah,
You do
yeah,
something
and then
like that, you're hoping it'll do that. The public will like it, or the people taking it, and it's been really cool to get that feedback.
that's awesome. So I go through the course, and then I guess I just take a test, and then you send me a certificate. How does that work?
Yeah,
Pretty standard.
unfortunately, human nature is, if I want to get certified, if it's online, I can just kind of click the button and walk away and have dinner and then come back. But what we do is we keep people engaged in that they have to pass quizzes along the way. So it'll be in the middle of a module. We'll have like 3 or 4, maybe 5 quizzes in this module that will stop in the middle of it and say, okay, of the following, what's the right answer? And so that keeps people engaged and attentive. And some of those questions are actually found on the final test when they take the test at the end of the course. It's a 50-question test. It's got a bunch of different questions. We have a huge library of questions that they get pulled from to make it a 50-question test. But then they take that test, and then after that, they pass the test, they get certified. So we send them a certification card, lanyard. They can download their certificate of completion. And we also give everybody for years now with our online research here in Georgia, a platform to be able to voice their questions, concerns, that kind of stuff that when they took the course, so that they feel like they can, if there's something they had a question about or they didn't like, that they can actually express that. And I give back to every person on that when they do ask questions.
That's awesome. So, if we were to wrap all this up, I promised in the beginning of this episode that we were on a mission, that we were gonna, and I asked if I could wrap up 30 years of experience and deliver it to you, in a way in which it would, potentially affect your stormwater career or affect your ability to do your job better, just to like give you a better leg up as you're doing your inspections. Um, would that be cool? And it is cool, and it does exist, and it's not just a, rudimentary uh, program. It's Luke who, if you just listen to him for the last 20 minutes, lowers his heart and soul in everything he does. So here you got this course from somebody that's lived it out in the field, over 30 years of experience. So I don't know what's that worth. You don't have to go travel anywhere to do it and sit in a classroom. What's that worth? You don't, on and on and on. Feedback, he takes feedback. You have access to Luke after the fact. So, you just keep stacking all of this value, and to where, what does this cost? $1,500, $1,000? What does it cost for me to take this class?
Well, from the very beginning, I've always been concerned about the cost of these things because MS4s, they're public entities. They're operating off of a budget that generally does not get much money every year. And yet they've got this unfunded mandate that they have to get trained. So I really work hard at keeping our dollars so they're reasonable and yet allowing me to continue to do what I love to do. So the course itself is $547. And I'm telling you, I think that is of course, it's my class and I'm really proud of it, but I do believe that you're going to get more value from this. As a matter of fact, I'll just tell you, we have and always have, if you're not happy with the training, you get your money back. There's no question about it. And we have never had to give any money back. And that's an outspoken guarantee. If you feel like you took that course and you didn't get what you felt like you needed out of it, you call us and we'll give you your money back. No questions.
Wait, what's up?
Or at least
It's a
get some
9 hour.
questions. But
Oh yeah. Right? No, wait, you gotta stop. 547. That's great. I mean, that really is. I mean, for budget conscious and all of these, and anybody that's holding a MS4 permit, that's a fantastic price. I mean, so where's the cat? Where's the guy? Are you the one teaching the course? It's you, right? Or somebody?
it's
It's
me
you.
teaching it.
Yeah,
And,
it's you. For
when
nine.
we,
It's 9 hours of Luke,
yeah,
right?
it is. And it's not just me though. Again, there's videos and stuff like that. But
Sure.
I can tell you right now, the way that I'm communicating with you now is pretty much how you're going to see me communicating in the course. And I'm very
Yeah.
conversational and really want people to stay engaged in it. But it is something that you'll definitely sense it. You take the course that I really want this to be practical. When you walk out of there, you're going to have very clear, easy understood directions on what you need to do. And so it's much more than just answering questions on the final test and the quizzes. It's really, there's a lot of opportunity to write notes, in there because you need to understand that this one course is not guarantee you to be a good inspector, that you've got to really dig a little deeper and in your particular state's resources and manuals and permits and all that. And my goal is that you'll be inspired to do that. That you are and I really believe this firmly with all my heart, that the MS4 inspector is the foundation of our future water quality. Without enforcement, and enforcement being good pre-construction meetings, good meetings with clients that own industrial operator, whatever the hotspots, restaurant owners, if you don't care about those people enough to explain what your duties are and how important they are for that watershed and the things that live in it and the people that survive on it, then I really believe you're not going to be a good inspector. So I really want this to be something that motivates you, but also really equips you and educates you on what you need to do. And I think we hit a grand slam on that.
That's awesome. Yeah, because I mean, as an inspector, a lot of these inspectors don't have a very big bat. We've touched on the compliance side, the enforcement side of it a little bit. So they really have to be educators, and you can't educate somebody on something that you don't understand yourself. And so, what it sounds like is this course really helps them start wrapping their minds around the what it really truly means to be an inspector out there in stormwater, you're way better trying to, I think you are. You're better with a carrot than a stick. And so you gotta explain to these people why it's just a better way to go so we can
Just their presence, just them
all get
being
along.
there makes the difference. Yeah, just people that are concerned about their neighborhoods where they live. You have a developer, a builder come in, and they're there and gone. These guys are there. They care about their community, and if they just show up and hold these guys, get them educated, but then hold them accountable to, keeping those streets clean, to keeping those BMPs installed properly and maintained, then they've done their job for sure.
Gotcha. So one more thing on the course, it's 547 for me to take it, and then is there an extra charge to take the exam?
Nope, it's all the same
All
thing.
in 547. I keep trying to make
All
it more expensive, but you just won't do it. Okay, cool. That's awesome. That is awesome. So what did we forget, Luke? I appreciate you coming on. I'm glad you wanted to come back on and for us to be able to talk and launch and talk about your new online course. Wait, the MS4 CECI course, which by the time you listen to this podcast should be available at training.com, npdstraining.com. We'll have all that linked in the show notes. But any final thoughts or what you want to leave the folks with?
no, not. I always. I'll just end it with this: is that being grateful is what is going to give us the water quality we need to have in the future. And people are very spoiled right now with water, and they don't realize that most of the water that they're swimming in and fishing in has been treated. Thankfully, because of the NPDES permit program and the Safe Drinking Water Act, that I think gratitude drives wanting to comply with a permit. I mean, it's a phenomenal program that we have that basically makes people accountable. So to try to make that pill go down easier, just know that you are making a difference when you're complying with the permit. You really are caring for our future and doing your fair share. I mean, who would ever know the millions and millions, maybe billions of dollars that have been invested already with people complying with their permits that have given us the water quality we have today. We just need to keep on doing it.
Hey, I thank you again for coming on the pod. I really appreciate you spending time with us, and folks, like I don't know what to say. Congratulations and on your new on your new course, and I hope you crush it because we need it. We need
Well, Ty, I want to tell you
we
also,
need to duplicate Luke out there, folks. I mean, he's giving it to you right there. You get Luke and all of his experience, and we need more Lukes out there fighting the good fight. I'm
well,
sorry,
thank you, Ty.
I interrupted you. What were you gonna say?
No, well, I was just going to say thank you. I interrupted you, but thank you for the guidance that you've given me and the opportunity to be able to share about this training. So I really appreciate it.
All right, we'll talk to you later.